Hey everyone, Red here, and I've been playing the Twins about as much as I can over the week, and I wish I actually could have played more to get some more blood points in order to see some new builds. But besides that, I've been asked a ton of questions about the new killer, not only on YouTube, but also on my Discord. And today's video will be my opinion and thoughts on the new killer with some gameplay in the background. The first thing I want to go over is pretty simple. Is the killer fun? To myself, I find the Twins to be a ton of fun playing in the game for both Survivor and for Killer. On the Killer side, it can be a great time when setting your fetus Victor to cause some havoc in the world, and it adds a little bit of diversity to playstyle, as not only is Victor a great way to secure some extra hits, but with his long range pounce attacks you can actually get survivors before they ever notice him. And there are going to be some nice little plays when you can actually make from the hills to get that extra distance and just scatter across the skies, and then smack that survivor without them ever noticing. On top of that, if you leave Victor idle in an area, he will alert Charlotte when a survivor is in his proximity. This basically makes Victor a ward you can have on the map, and if someone gets near said location, you can simply switch back to Victor and get the jump on an unsuspecting survivor. And on the survivor side, it's actually really great feeling to just kick this little bastard right in his face when he misses his dash. But also adds a little creepiness to the game, because when you start hearing his little shrieks, you know he's somewhere nearby, but you don't know where the little ankle biter's at. And before you know it, he's already leaping over your head and spooking the hell out of you. The biggest question I have received has been, are the Twins strong or weak? A lot of players and content creators are so far have predetermined that the Twins are actually quite weak. But I have to strongly disagree here, as upon release, I expect her to be a very solid and very high tiered killer. This consensus though was the same when Blight first got released into the Dead by Daylight beta. A lot of players are quick to judge a killer right off the bat without putting in any time to actually find out the correct playstyle or power utilization, and Blight was a player trap, as it was very easy to overutilize his power and be pinballing everywhere with nothing to show for it. I believe we have the same scenario now for Charlotte and Victor. Now before I get into the comments saying, what about the lockers and holding Victor hostage, I'll address my experience with it currently. Yes, lockers can be very annoying, as it completely nullifies Victor's power at the moment. As far as what I do when survivors hop in lockers, it's pretty simple. I either ignore them for now and try and catch them out later when they're not near lockers, or I pull back a bit and switch to Charlotte and then switch immediately back to Victor when they hop out of that locker to go and punt him. I also like to get closer with Charlotte before using Victor in general. This tends to scare survivors away from an area, and then I can go ahead and send Victor out without the fear of survivors having a locker to hop right into. In most of my games, lockers really haven't been as bad as what they've been made out to be. Now with holding Victor hostage, I personally just thought it was a smart thing to do, and I'm more surprised that behavior didn't see it being an issue. But in my opinion, it's only an issue in terms of fun. A killer should never be able to have their power hindered by a survivor like this, and I agree with that. But the survivors who holding Victor really can't do anything either, and the oblivious makes them easier to catch off guard later. We of course don't want to chase the person who has Victor on them right away, because, well, we're not getting any value out of it. Unless of course the object of accession is being used, and that's where I think this actually gets broken way out of control. Then a survivor who's holding Victor can actually see Charlotte the whole time. Now, when I have a survivor holding Victor, I personally just let them go and focus on the other survivors with Charlotte. While yes, this makes me now a basic attacking only killer, I can utilize the time frame of less pressure from the survivors to get other injures, downs, and pallets out of the game. Now, with all this being said, Behavior has already announced in the forums that both of these issues are already being looked into, and I'd be actually very surprised if any of these issues made it to live servers, along with the plethora of other bugs like floating baby Victor everywhere. But, you know, those things will make their way out of the game in time. And with all these things being around though, I still have an immense amount of success in my games and a lot of fun with the snowball effect and the pressure that the Twins can inflict. And I consider them to be a very solid duo, and even stronger upon release to live servers. In my opinion, this killer has the potential to be an S rank spot alongside Spirit and Nurse, but only time will tell. The next question I was asked was what builds will be strong with the Twins, and well, when it comes to perk building around the Twins, you have to remember that Victor does not benefit from any perk. Only Charlotte can actually utilize the perks. So with that being said, information and slowdown perks are probably going to be pretty solid, and depending on how often you're utilizing Victor over Charlotte, save the best for last could be a solid chase perk. But I think we really get to see this killer shine with the perks like Discordance, Corrupt Intervention, Pop Goes the Weasel, Surveillance, Thanaphobia, Barbecue and Chili, Hex Ruin, Hex Undying Combo, Infectious Fright, Sloppy Butcher, especially if you're using Charlotte more. But there's a lot of different perk builds that you're going to be able to use with them. You're just not going to be able to use things that have like the exposed effect, because Victor will not be able to down survivors who are exposed. His balance is not considered a basic attack, and so it does get rid of some of the niftier things you could do, and it doesn't matter because he doesn't benefit from any of the perks anyways. And for today's longest answered question, how do I play the Twins? and this is something that will still develop over time, and the twins actually can have numerous playstyles, which is something that I love about this killer. I personally though will start a game looking for survivors with Charlotte, and once finding them, positioning myself nearby before dropping Victor, and then utilizing Victor's ability to essentially ignore loops due to his speed and look to attach Victor to a survivor nearby. When Victor is attached, I will continue my patrol unless Victor's instinct goes off, because when Victor mounts a survivor, he currently only detects other survivors within killer's instinct and not the survivor he is currently riding. If this happens, I may move in that direction depending on the map layout and how many survivors are currently grouped. And this is where I assert a lot more pressure by injuring survivors, getting pallet drops, and if possible retrieving Victor with Charlotte, but only if it's free, because I don't really want to spend a lot of time chasing a survivor who currently can't do anything to progress the game. And some things to watch out for when playing the twins is when survivors are injured, Victor instead just downs them and is able to continue afterwards. This can lead to a snowball effect where you can chain downs and potentially end the game right then and there. There are a lot of utilizations with the deadly duo, and there are some things to keep in mind when playing these two. For example, when leaving Charlotte to play as Victor, try to position Charlotte so she's just not out in the open. If playing more Victor heavy, I tend to hide Charlotte behind a nearby gen, but behind an object if possible. When coming back to Charlotte, I can potentially catch a survivor working on a gen and be extremely close before this chase even starts. This typically results in free hits and a shorter chase overall, or fast drop pallets. And this is due to the fact that when Charlotte is currently controlling Victor, or when you are currently controlling Victor, Charlotte no longer has a terror radius and kind of just goes into a stasis. But when you come back, that terror radius will pop up, but if you have positioned yourself correctly, the survivor might have known a little too late and get yourself a free hit. Victor is a ward when he is inactive, so it can be very valuable to place him near gens where his killer's detection can notify Charlotte when survivors get close to the gen and start working on them. Then you can simply swap back to Victor and look to apply pressure while Charlotte is nowhere nearby. This is great for slugging and slowing down the game, but don't expect to hook said survivor if you're a mile away with Charlotte. This also runs a bit more of a risk as you can miss, and with Victor, if you miss, survivors can crush him and nullify that pressure. Those are just a few things to look at when playing this killer, and overall is why I think they're going to be an insane killer, especially upon release. Oh, and last little bit that I don't want to forget about is Victor does not emit a terrorist nor a red stain, but survivors can hear his little shrieks when he is nearby. But his lunge actually seems to be longer than where his shrieks range emits to, which means you couldn't potentially pounce on a survivor without them ever knowing you're there. Also, Victor is not affected by survivor perks like Spine Shield and Object of Accession, so even if a survivor is running it, they still won't have their perks light up or be able to see you. Now I have a last few tips I would recommend from my games, and they are as followed. 1. Take a bit of time when trying to pounce on survivors with Victor. If a survivor manages to juke and crush Victor, you will have cost yourself much more time than you could possibly imagine. 2. Keep an eye on how much time you spend as Victor. Much like Blight, it's very easy to lose track of time when using this power. 3. Make sure to utilize Charlotte. While Victor is the power and can be extremely fun, Charlotte is also just as useful and is the only one who receives benefits from the perks. Not utilizing her can cost you big time. 4. Don't spend too much time chasing a survivor who is holding Victor. They can't work on gens, and with Oblivious, you will run into them later and catch them off guard that way. You won't catch them off guard by chasing them. I know this said this earlier, but just to drive home that fact, spend your time more wisely by pressuring the other survivors who are progressing the game. And last but not least is number 5, have fun. Too often do we as players ignore this simple rule. You will learn things with Killer with time, and while some things can be upsetting, focusing on the fun aspects of the game will also greatly improve not only your skill in the game, but allows you to overcome setbacks in the game due to a level head. And of course, make sure to assert plenty of dominance. These were just my final thoughts on the new killer, and I'm sure I will develop some more as I continue playing them once they go on live servers. I am especially excited to test out a ton of new builds on the killers, but I would like to currently get back to working on my other projects for the channel, so this will be a last for a little bit of the twins. Until of course they go to live servers. I'm going to pump out probably a lot more content for them because I still have a lot of builds I want to do for them. I hope you all found some use in today's final rant, or at least found it entertaining. If so, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe with the bell notification to keep up with future content. If you have any other questions pertaining to the killer, make sure to leave them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. If you've been playing Charlotte and have some tips that maybe I missed out here, feel free also leave them down below and help out the community. But guys, that's it for today. I hope you all enjoyed, and until next time, I'm Red and I'm signing off.